This is how you bind a user ref to data in FlutterFlow. Check this out. This one's for Jamina. Let's get it rolling. So the first thing that we're going to have to double check, Jamina, is if how we're binding that data or how that data is inside of our database. So the first thing we want to go take a look at is the actual DB. So in our users DB, this is going to be the general setup. And when you have userRef, make sure it's a reference of users. There's times where there's in there. We need a reference. So let's check out product and service. So when we're in this DB over here, we have product service ref, and we have a reference of users as a ref because we're referencing that users database. They call it for each section of your database. So but the products and services is going to be a list because we're going to have multiple of them, but that doc reference of a users, that's just going to be one user, but make sure it's a reference and it has it in products and services as well as in users. I mean, you're going to have that user ref, and then you have product services, a list of refs. You need them in both. I mean, you don't need it every time, but as your app grows, you're going to be really thankful if both references can go to users or if it can go to product and service. All right. So let me get my fat head out of the way and we can get dialed into what we're looking at to go make sure everything's good there. So now that we know those references are in our database, what we got to do is make sure when we're creating our product or service here on this action button that we're incorporating that reference in there. So let's open that up and take a look at our actions. So first of all, when we're creating this product or service, we're creating a new within the product or service. They're all, but we're going to add the email, their name, phone, timestamp. We're adding that user ref. Let's go in here and let's just take that out and we'll go from the beginning so you can see it. Come down here and we'll add that field. So we're going to add that user ref field, and that's going to be under authenticated user reference right there. Now a good way once your app starts getting a little bit bigger in order to find some of this stuff is just use this search bar up here. Just type in user reference. And it's going to highlight everything that has user reference there. This main one, user reference that's capitalized, is always going to be that authenticated users user ref. So you can always go to that one and confirm. That way you're making sure when you're creating an in products or service, it has that user ref in it based on that user. And then what we're doing here on the next ones when we update this, let's see what reference we're updating here. So we're updating the new product ref reference. Where that's going to be when you come in here is action outputs, new product ref reference at the bottom here. One thing I didn't point out is when you're creating that on the first time, you're going to want to give that action output variable a name. So make sure you name it. I named it, a new product ref, but that way it gives it a place for you to grab that reference to create it in the products and services DB. Because without that, that's not going to pop up to add your product reference there. So when you're updating that and you come in and you need to add that user ref to that new product or service, we want to add our user ref here. We're going to get it from a variable. And that's going to come from our action outputs, new product ref, and it's going to be all the way at the bottom. We want the reference of that new product ref to be, not ID. So we need to go user ref, doc reference. Okay, so we just need authenticated user ref. Boom, right there. And this is when we're going to be updating. Let's see, no, that's user record reference. Okay, my bad. We're updating the product service ref, but we're putting in that authenticated user reference. So one more time just to make sure I do it right. So if we're updating, we'll just delete this action and do it all over again so you can see it from the beginning. Okay, so initially we're creating this in the products and services, but because it hasn't been created yet, we can't add those references directly to it. I mean, it is right here from the user ref. Right? So it is going to be in there. And then we got to update that user record reference in our products and services. But to put it, I mean, it's going to be in there right from your user ref. So I almost don't even need that next step. I guess that's just a creature of habit right there, but we'll do it anyway, just to make sure. Because you can always update, right? If it's created, you can update it. So let's update that. And we go into action outputs, new product ref. We want to update that we just did or created. We're going to keep that there. We're going to add that field, userRef. And that'll be authenticated userRef. Boom, boom. That's in there. Then on the products and services, or I'm sorry, on the user database, right? So this is, we got to make sure, we'll just do this one again as well. So we're going to update another, so we're updating the user to give it that product service ref we just created. What are we going to update here? So we need to go into what reference are we updating? That new product, I'm sorry, user ref. We go authenticated user, product and service ref, because we're updating the user. So that's going to be under authenticated user. Oops, what am I doing here? We got this one updated. We got this one. Okay. One more time. Gotta love these live stream tutorials. But I don't want to go back and forth if I'm not doing it perfect from the start. So add action. We're going to update it. Boom, update. We need to get authenticated user. User reference. We want to update that users. We're going to add a field here. That's going to be products and services ref. We're going to add to the set because it's going to be a list. And I believe we got to go into add to set, action outputs, new product ref. We're going to go reference. Boom. Okay. So now my references are in both DBs. This is almost an unnecessary step, but it is good to update your, make sure everything's there. Let's close that there. Now, when we go take a look to bind this information here, we need to go to our products list page. Okay. And what we're looking for here, under this DB, we're going to come up to our database over here in the top right. And this product service ref, you know, we'll just take all these off to do them again so you can get another little walkthrough there. Okay. So none of this has the data, right? It's not bound to anything. But on this container, I put it above the list view. We're going to go add query. We're going to query that products and services collection. Okay, it's a list of, and the filter we want is, we want the user ref to equal our authenticated users user reference. Bada bing, bada boom. Okay. So now we're bringing that data in, but we still need to bind it. So to do that, we're going to come into this list view and we're going to generate our children dynamically. So what that means is we'll set up one thing in the list view. The rest are going to look the same, but the data can change. All right. We'll call it products services. And the value is going to be this products and services. You're going to be able to pull this because you're querying a list. And that's going to help you generate the children dynamically, which is the picture, the name, description, price. Okay, no further changes. Confirm. After we hit this, you'll get the pop-up. After you hit save. Yes, we want it to do that. Cool. So now we can come in and we can rebind all these. I'll just go through them to make sure you can see that. But under the image, I'm going to select that image. I'm going to come down here to path. Let's do it from the beginning. We're going to be doing network in image type. And we're going to go path. We're going to come into the products and services item. We're going to get that photo URL. Okay. So our product URL. Come up here to the name on the text. We're going to do the same thing. Let's remove this to do a demo. Products and services item again. We are going to go product name. Under here, same thing. We'll remove it just to kind of show what's going on. Products and services. We're going description. and product price. I'm going to remove that and rebind it to product price. Okay. So now that we have those references, that should recognize that's the user's product. So not everybody's seeing it. Now let's do a little demo. We're going to reload this test page. Hopefully this doesn't take too long live streaming, but there's not too much in the demo app, so this should go fairly quickly. But while we're waiting, here's some fun facts about FlutterFlow. It's an awesome no-code platform that'll help you develop an app to do whatever you want. If you don't want to talk about optimizing your day, just build one of these to handle what you have to do all day. Just think about your process, put it into, honestly, a piece of paper, draw it out, what I got to do, and then go build it. Sounds simple, kind of is, once you kind of get the basics. Now, when you're first getting started, don't get me wrong, some of this stuff's going to seem like gibberish, but the nice thing is with FlutterFlow, they make it very easy to learn. There's a ton of resources online. And the best part, you got your boy, Jack, to do your tutorials. Okay, so this is just kind of a general like homepage layout, nothing there, but I don't know if you can see that on the screen. Come down here into this shopping cart where my products and services are. Nothing's there, right? So we got to add one in. We got to add this photo for our product and service. Let's go gallery. And I'm going to pick the microphone. Product or service name, Jack's Tech. Description, tutorials, price, $99.99. We'll create that product. And boom, my products and services are listed there. Now, one thing that we can take a look at while we're doing this, because it looks pretty here, but what if somebody has a very long description? Let's select that product description. Okay, right here. So if I were to go in and edit that, let's just do an example on the test mode to see if a wrap works on it. Let's add another product and service. Let's take a look at what this looks like. Okay, nothing there. Fantastic. Shouldn't have hit the save button. Add photo, gallery. Let's upload the photo again. We're going to go Jack's Tech. And I'm going to write a very long description here to see if it'll overflow. Because if it does, we're going to have to add a wrap to make sure the text goes down. So tutorials by Jack on live stream can get a little interesting because they're live and sometimes Jack picks his nose and his buddy Alaska tells him to stop. Price $99.99. Let's see if this overflows. We got to add a wrap or not. Okay, perfect. So we're looking good there. The words are getting cut off, and let's show you kind of why that's happening there. With our text here, we're always going to be bound to certain restrictions with our containers. And our height isn't set right there. Let's see if we got one set here. So we have that, which FlutterFlow, I mean, keeps improving because this is fantastic. You previously would have had to do that under a wrap, but because we're in this, right? So we got to pay attention to how this is all set up. We have a row, which is this whole thing. This row is encompassing all of our stuff in here, and that row is divided up into 3 sections. So we have our image, section 1. Like imagine if there's a line right there. We have our section 2, and this contains 2 text widgets. So 2's in the middle, and then 3 we have stacked an icon and a text widget. Now with our here, we are not scrollable. Okay, so we're limiting that size because that could eventually get a little bit crazy and it's not going to look that good. But with our text, this is actually fairly cool. We don't have to put this in a wrap. So our text overflow replacement, this is important. this will be, you can either do a clip or a cutoff, so it just stops it there, or do that ellipsis, so it's like, hey, there's more here, take a look. And that way, you know, your characters are going to be cut off. It's not going to be just something crazy, but for example, set the max characters, because if I put this, let's see, at 200, for example, let's take a look at what that's going to look like when we reload the app, because we want it to look uniform on the list. Now you can always, what we'll do probably next to that, you're going to need to click on that, go to product detail where you can edit it, and I'll show you how to pass that dynamically for fields to edit and stuff. But see how that expanded it and it's not going to look the same? That's where you're going to have that functionality. But if you go back into FlutterFlow, that product description right there, and you put that back at 70 and set your cutoff. Set your cutoff for the ellipsis. I need to take off my hotkeys when I'm doing tutorials. But if you take off or if you put in the max characters allowed there, and then have your text overflow be the ellipsis, it's going to cut that text off, give a few dots to give an indicator there's more, and not cause you any errors. I hope that helped on binding userRef to data. But in your database, always make sure, let's see. So let's go just for an example, marketing ref. We're going to do another one, but the data type, you're always going to want to have a reference here, right? Select reference. But what can get a little confusing sometimes within FlutterFlow is if we're doing this query and the filter, let's remove this filter. Add another one. Filter one. userRef. There's a feature in there to where you can have a referenced, and it has to be ref, not, it's kind of hard because I'm saying everything repeatedly, but get the reference, not necessarily just the, now you can do the, if it is that specific product or service, but if we're just trying to reference, it's the user stuff, reference users, not user. Okay. Let's see if that's going to be a good example somewhere in here. That's always going to be usually in the binding of data, but if we can show that on a different query here, because that's kind of cool to know too. Query collection from reference. The FlutterFlow 5 is just crushing it, man. But yeah, I hope that helps. There's some amazing functionality. If I'm not explaining it right, or if it's still a little confusing, let me know. Would love to on a call with you and we can just knock it out that way. But let me know if you have any questions and we'll go from there. Jamina, I'm proud of you for as much work as you're doing. I mean, you're learning to code. You're getting into FlutterFlow. It's incredible. So keep up the hard work. If anything isn't look right or if you need some more help, please let me know.